Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, and is open to all FMS radio operators interested in emergency communications. Primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic, news, opinions and information. Additional information and announcements are available on the RAYNET-UK website at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls are to be made to the net control station unless you are instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name and whether or not you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in. If you do, please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, make it clear that you want to check out at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I'll repeat who I've heard, and if you're not acknowledged, please do try again. And if you miss your turn for calling in, I will be calling for strays at the end of the UK stations and the international stations. So, I'll now begin taking check-ins for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net, as usual in call sign number order. So any stations with figure 8 in their call sign wishing to check in, please do so now. This is G4 NRC.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee, G8 EEY, name is Mike.
G4 NRC's got Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee. Any other 8s, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, nothing heard. So let's go for 7. The station's figure 7, and the call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over. G7 Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, Graham. Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, Dave. Good afternoon, Greg. G4 NRC, good afternoon to Graham, G7 and the H, and Dave, M7 AVO. Any other 7s, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, no more 7s. Let's go for any 6s. Station's figure 6 and their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over.
November Yankee India Alan, Planet Raynet, in and out, please, Greg.
G4 NRC, good afternoon, Alan. Mike 6 November Yankee India, copied in and out. Any other 6s, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, no more 6s. Let's try for 5. Station's figure 5 and their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over. For NRC, I think we've still only got 1 5 on the list, so we'll move past straight to 4. Station's figure 4 in that call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over.
Golf 4 Kilo Uniform Juliet Trevor. Good afternoon, Greg and everyone.
For NRC, good afternoon, Trevor. G4 KUJ. Any other 4s, please? G4 NRC, over. Okay, No more fours. Let's go for threes. Stations figure 3 and their call sign. Please go ahead. G4 and RC, over.
Golf 3 Victor, Echo Hotel, Chris in Winchester. Good afternoon, Greg. No traffic, so in and out, but we'll be listening. G3VH. Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. Name Ian and in and out. Thanks, Greg.
For NRC. Okay, good afternoon, Chris. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel and Ian Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, both in and out. Any other threes, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard, so let's go for the twos. Stations figure 2 and their call sign, expressly including intermediate twos. Please call now. G4 and RC, over.
2 Echo 0, Charlie, Mike Sierra, calling.
Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra. Good afternoon, Colin. Staying with us. Any other twos, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, no more twos. Let's have stations figure 1. Figure 1 in their call sign. Please call now. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, second call. Any stations with figure 1? Figure 1 in their call sign. Please go ahead. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard, so let's go for the zeros. Starting as usual with the Mike 0 stations. Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier. Please go now. G4 and RC, over.
Mike 0, Juliet Sierra.
Mike 0, November Alpha Sierra. Good evening, Greg. Good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. Neil from Essex RAYNET, and I'm in and out today.
Mike 0, Oscar Alpha Uniform, no traffic, in and out.
Mike 0, Whiskey X-Ray Golf, Shirley in Cornwall, in and out. Thank you, Greg.
Mike 0, India, Andy, Shirley in Cornwall, in and out. Greg.
G4 and RC, let's see who we've got. Alan, Mike 0, Juliet Sierra Alpha. Good afternoon to you, and staying with me. Neil, Mike 0, November Alpha Sierra is in and out. Lee, Mike 0, Oscar Alpha Uniform, also copied as in and out. Note to you, Lisa will reply to your email shortly. And then Shirley, Mike 0, Whiskey X-Ray Golf, good call in, and copied in and out. Andy, Mike 0, India Tango Mike, also in and out. I just heard more packet loss on your connection, but it didn't seem to show up on the dashboard I was looking at. So thanks for that. Let's see how many more we've got. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, no more Mike Zeros. Let's have the Golf Zero stations of any regional secondary identifier. Please call now, G4 and RC, over.
Golf Whiskey Zero, Juliet Lima X-Ray. Name is Andy. Pembrokeshire RAYNET. Good afternoon, Greg. No traffic, so in and out today, please. Over.
G4 and RC, good afternoon, Andy. Golf Whiskey Zero, Juliet Lima X-Ray, and copied you in and out. You'll be listening for a little while. Any other Golf Zero stations of any regional secondary identifier, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard. So any UK stations who missed their turn to call in, please do so now. G4 and RC, over.
Mike Zero, Mike Foxtrot Sierra.
Mike Zero, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4 and RC. Drew, you were 47% packet loss according to Brandmeister, the site you called in on. So got you as a call in. Are you staying with me or in and out? Mike Zero, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard from Drew. I'll call him at the end of the list, just in case he's staying with us. Okay, let's go for any international liaison stations, usually Nord-Samband of Norway, Aran in Ireland, stations from the Slovak Republic. Any international check-ins today, please? G4 and RC, over.
Oscar Mike 4, Alpha Echo India. Good evening, the name is Peter. I have no traffic, so in and out, please.
G4 and RC, good evening, Peter. Oscar Mike 4, Alpha Echo India, and good to hear you from the Slovak Republic, and copy no traffic in and out. Okay, final call. Any stations who wish to check in to the net, the RAYNET-UK DMR activity period, please call now. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, no more takers. Anybody think there were some rugby games on? Okay, so this is G4 and RC. Caution for all, the net is being live streamed by Graham, G7 and EH to YouTube today. Probably without my face because we're having some issues with the video conferencing server that's sitting in the middle of this, which caused me some issues yesterday. But the live stream and recording will be available by searching G7 and EH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, on youtube.com. Thanks to Alan, Mike Zero Juliet Sierra Alpha, for his excellent assistance in taking the net last week. It was much appreciated, and I'm sure I'll be finding some other opportunities in the next few weeks to take up his good offers again, and thanks again, Alan, for doing all that. A little observation, hotspots. I've got another duplex hotspot on order from China, just the board. Prices appear to have come down, and still seeing news that Raspberry Pis will start to get slightly better supply and demand from the second half of this year, so it might help some hotspot building. So, in other news, a good meeting held yesterday with IARU Region 1 Emergency Communications Coordinators, with over 12 countries involved, and discussion on future exercises, meetings, and some immediate learning points from the Turkey-Syria earthquakes. All modes seem to make it into the discussion, from CW up to Starlink. So the question for the net today is, how many tools do you consider to be in your toolbox for emergency communications? Another question arising from the meeting yesterday was how do you gather feedback on events and responses in your group? I got to see a fairly comprehensive after-action form from Aaron in Ireland, making me think how I tried this in West Cheshire some years ago, not with a great deal of success, but wondering what others do now. So with that, what have we got for news for anybody else? Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee G4 and RC over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY. I was waiting when I first called in to see if Phil was about, but obviously he normally gets in before me, but now I've got the job of trying to answer a question when I haven't had time to think about it. So I'll come back to that later. Okay, weather here's not been too bad today compared with the previous days during the week. It was very cold, wet and windy most of the week. Today it's around about 6 centigrade, 1030 millibars, but it's definitely on a downhill ski slope to 0 centigrade by 11 o'clock tonight. 50% relative humidity, 14% cloud cover, 12 miles an hour from 46 degrees. Good to hear Trevor on today. That's nice to hear him again. And as for Raspberry Pis and the like, I'm finding all sorts of things I've been trying to get hold of. Every time I find something in a catalogue online, it's, oh dear, out of stock, back order. So it's not good at the moment. From G8 EEY.
Eight Echo Echo Yankee G4 and RC in the RAYNET UK activity period. Okay, further information copied. Sorry to take you by surprise with the questions, but yeah, I'm also wondering whether Phil's a rugby fan. Supply chain issues are still a big thing. Even for some bits of plastic to go inside control panels and things, you can't get the right PVC or the right colours and so on. So I think it is interesting. My latest order has gone off to AliExpress in China, where the observation from somebody else was that you can always get the components, but they arrive so long after the order you've forgotten what you ordered and why you ordered it. I'm hoping I don't fall into that trap so early. Okay, thanks Mike. I'll be ready for your quiz questions later. Next to Graham with the YouTube update first. G7NEH, G4 and RC over. G4 and RC, G7NEH. Yeah, good afternoon Greg, and good afternoon to all on the net. So the viewing figures for last week, in total we had 15 views and 2 likes. So they were the figures for last week. And yeah, not a lot else to add from this end. I was playing a bit of FT8 on 17 metres earlier today and managed to grab a new country. I hope they confirm, which was Kenya. So quite pleased about that. And that was probably about the highlight of my radio week. G4NRC, G7NEH. NEH, G4NRC returning. Yes, congratulations on getting Kenya in the log. When you posted that, and for the info of others, Graham and I were observing how propagation was so good even on 10 metres yesterday. You could hear the FM repeaters from New York. It does bring about some interest that for those groups trying 6 metres, we're probably getting close to the point in the solar cycle where solar conditions are so good, 50 megahertz goes intercontinental, even on FM. So have you factored in having issues about propagation affecting your local nets? Okay, thanks Graham for that. Next to Dave, Mike 7 off of its Oscar, G4 and RC over.
G4 and RC, Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar. Good afternoon, Greg. I trust you and everybody else are well. A little bit of information on the Raspberry Pis. I've just recently acquired two, a Pi Zero and a Pi 3B, from the Pi Hut after registering interest. If you go on the website, they are out of stock, but if you put your email in the box that it was to notify me when they're back in, they're drawing up a waiting list, and they came fairly quickly after an email saying we've got them in stock and ordered them. So they are about through the Pi Hut website. So I've got a couple here for projects in the future. Back to you, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar.
Victor Oscar G4 and RC. Okay, yeah, I actually looked at the Pi Hut earlier to see what was going on, and probably took the answer too easily that they were out of stock. So, okay, if they're doing back orders or taking stuff for notifications, that's good. I think what I read on one of the sites, one of the bigger ones like CPC, was they're expecting fresh stock somewhere around June. So after selling out 1,500 pies, they were getting ready to sell another 1,500 very quickly when the next batch arrives. But it is supposed to be getting better. I have some Pi Zeros and Pi 2s, which would do hotspot duty, but they're doing other things. So I'm just reluctant to lose one. But we'll see, Dave. We'll get there. Okay, next to Trevor, G4KUJ, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC in the group, G4KUJ. Yes, good afternoon, Greg and everyone else. Good to be back on the net after a while. Radio activity this week. Main thing I did yesterday was check out the QO100 system, which is still working very nicely on receive and transmit, so that's in good order. So that must be one of the tools in the toolbox. Read your comments about 10 meters. One of the stations on the QO100 AMSAT net this morning was saying that he'd been working a lot of stations on 2, and like you, was suggesting that 6 meters could well come into its own in a few weeks' time, which is interesting. Other tools in the toolbox, HF with data, Pactor available using the modem, SCS modem, and obviously the other digital modes using FLDigi, and those could be used on VHF and UHF as well. Not the Pactor, but the FLDigi side. So that's there's one for starters from G4KUJ.
G4KUJ, G4 and RC. Yes, it was interesting. The scope of the conversation yesterday was pretty much the Swedish rep was, how about some CW, because it's basic and it works, versus Bosnia, who were also looking at Starlink, which does show the absolute spread of everything we have available to us. And the prompt about the Irish response to an incident form was that a couple of RN members had done quite well on reinstating datacoms in the universities they worked at, using a variety of hotspots and other things after a cyber attack, deploying their amateur knowledge for good use, albeit in slightly business purposes. So no amateur frequencies were harmed in this, but they used the knowledge obtained to deliver something else. So some good learning yesterday. Okay, next down to Colin, to Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, from 2 Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra. Good afternoon, Greg. Afternoon, everybody. Just testing out a little a new gadget this week. It's an Android smartphone that's got a UHF, FM and DMR radio built in, which I'm actually testing at the moment, and seems to be working quite well. The audio is a little bit quiet on it actually, but apart from that, the quality of the audio seems to be quite good. And it actually decodes a little bit quicker than my Anytone radio. But yeah, different data modes. Yeah, we use a mixture of different things from normal FM repeaters on our main events, sometimes backed up with a couple of Zello links here and there, DMR repeaters where we can't get operators from RAYNET, and just put
2 Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, 20 CMS, G4 and RC. Colin, your signal dropped. Repeat all after DMR, I think is safest. Repeat all after DMR. 20 CMS, G4 and RC, over.
yeah, from 20 CMS. Yeah, I'm not sure where I got to actually. Never mind. Also, I was using a different device for DMR. So it's an Android phone. I think it's a Unihertz Atom XL, which has got FM and DMR built into it. But also, I was just saying what sorts of things that we use out on events. Obviously, we use quite a lot of FM communications. Occasionally, if we can't get enough operators, we put in the the PMR network and give handsets out to marshals and stuff like that. And then obviously we're quite involved with the Starlink, and occasionally use Zello and things like that for a few locations as well. But yeah, I probably won't be on for the next couple of weeks because we've got two extra events that we're assisting to cover. The Dartford Half Marathon, I think, next week, and then the Paddock Wood Half Marathon after that. But yeah, I think that's it for me for the moment. G4 and RC, 2 Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra.
2 Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC. Okay, you picked up roughly at the right place. It's all logged. I've actually got 2 spectators in the log today, seeing if I'm getting things right. So, sorry, I've got the video's not working today. One thing to think about, not sure if you spotted it, Colin, but I've noticed in North America, Starlink are changing their pricing structure, seem to be going after the mobile users. So, something like RV users who've had a fairly unlimited service for a price, the price was going up or the service was going down, but it was geographically limited. So maybe they've got too much market penetration in North America at the moment. So I wonder if you've seen anything like that for the UK pricing. Okay, we've got 1, possibly 2 more stations on this round. So next is Alan, Mike Zero, Juliet Sierra, Alpha, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, good afternoon, Grove, and good afternoon, everybody else. Yeah, I did quite enjoy doing the net last week. It was a bit of a challenge. I had various problems to sort out to get it all to work. Yes, I'm one of the spectators watching you doing the log sheet, which is quite interesting. I couldn't get it to work last week. I had to do it with my hand, but never mind. Raspberry Pis. Yeah, I'm struggling at the moment trying to use a couple of Raspberry Pi Zeros with no display. Setting up new hotspots, and I'll come to the conclusion that you definitely need a display to make it simpler, and I much prefer Raspberry Pi 3s because they change faster. It's very draggy on the 0. I haven't used the 3, so I'm happy to use the 3. A lot of them second hand on eBay, of course. There's no harm in buying a second hand Pi, as long as it hasn't been too chewed, so to speak. Operational wise, we generally use FM for most stuff, 2 meters, usually, because we've all got that. We've got DMR, we've got TYT, MD UV 380s, which we hire out as PMR radios sometimes, or we can use them ourselves. And we have a DMR repeater, allegedly, so we should be able to do encryption locally if the user service requests it. We did try using a public repeater, but that didn't go down very well. Ian, GWS, our group controllers have been experimenting using FLDG to send encrypted data. The idea being you type the message form into an app, it encrypts it, you type that into FLDG, so anyone picking it up can't read it. The other end do the opposite way around, and back, hey bingo, you've got a message form sent encrypted using FLDG. We're currently playing with that at the moment. Finally, I've been looking at Office 365 with a view to finding out what facilities are actually offered to us by the RAYNET-UK offering. It seems the app you can actually download as Teams, which does work well. All the others need online. Everything's done online, even uploading your Word file to SharePoint in order to edit it. That's a pity it doesn't give you the full Office 365 experience a proper subscription would give. But there you go. Finally, we've got our EGM tomorrow evening to create our new, or agree on a new constitution. So we're looking forward to that. Hey, hey. And report back later on that. Back to you, Greg. G4NRC, M0JSA.
Mike 0, Juliet Sierra Alpha, G4NRC returning. Okay, yes, logging into Pies without a display is a bit of an acquired taste, but a headless, so-called headless setup can be easier. And I did find one way of putting a lot of information into one of the initial files that would allocate an IP address to give everything you wanted without really needing to do lots of routing around into setups to find out what the address was of the device and dealing with different device names. I've got 4 Pies in a stack here that was meant to be a cluster computer, but they're a bit underpowered for clustering software now. As you'll have seen from the log, you've got a big yes for using encryption over FLDG, because at the end of the day, an encrypted file can be rendered as a 7-bit or so ASCII file, so plain text. But what you will find is, just to watch out for, is that some of the modes available in FLDG, and I'm thinking Contestia first, will only render text in capitals, so you would lose information if you had to pass over that. So you need to be sure that the system you're using is capable of rendering the full character set used for the ASCII armored file. Office 365, I keep getting a warning banner on mine telling me that everything is moving to the Microsoft 365 app. So I think you might find a lot of stuff is no longer available for download, and it is done via other routes through a web browser so that they keep control. I think that's it, Alan, but as you've seen, I've noticed in the log. We'll see if we can find out more for next week. Right, one check here. Let's see if Drew is still with us. Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, M0MFS, G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard from Drew, so obviously he either called in and out or his system has died completely after his packet loss. Let's take advantage of that little blip in there. Is there anybody else who wishes to check into the RAYNET-UK activity period? Please call now. This is G4NRC, over.
G8 KLC. Sorry I'm late.
G8KLC acknowledged. You were missed, as you might have heard. Anybody else, please? G4NRC, over.
SM0GY, just get it out, please, Greg.
It's G4NRC. Okay, so I've now got Ian, Mike Zero, Lima Zulu, India, who was 60% packet loss on Brandmeister's side. I'll come back to you in a moment, Ian. And Guy, Mike Zero, Uniform Yankee, in and out. So Ian, Mike Zero, Lima Zulu, India, would you like to try again? G4NRC, over.
G4LC from M0LZI, it's just a quick in and out. I'm having hotspot troubles at this end.
Zero Lima Zulu India. Okay, copied in and out. Thanks, Ian. Final call then, because the call sign that blipped in hasn't actually acknowledged, so presuming he's just going to listen if he doesn't call on this one. Any other callers for the RAYNET-UK activity period? G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard. G8KLC, it would be unfair not to let you have two goes. So where did you pick up the net, Phil? And possibly in response to questions, because Mike needs all the help he can get doing his answers. G8KLC, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC from G8KLC. Yeah, apologies to one and all for being late. Purely down to my tardiness and working out in the garden. I came in just after Mike, well, as Mike was finishing, so I'm not quite sure what the questions were. And I thought I heard something about, didn't know Phil was interested in the rugby. I'm not, but that may be something completely different. Anticipating the question, what digital modes does the group use? Very simple answer, we don't, purely because we've had two voice events and they've both been exercises for the local county council. When we get up and running and really get ourselves sorted out, then we'll probably be looking at more digital, but at the moment we're using very little. And nice to hear Trevor on. Long time no here. G4NRC, the group G8KLC.
G4NRC. Yes, I was trying to figure out why people might not be on the net. It was a bit of a slow start, so I was just describing it to maybe it was a Six Nations thing, so you noted as not a follower of the odd-shaped ball. Guessing the question, nice guess, it was broader than that. It was what tools are in the toolbox for emergency comms. There was a meeting yesterday, raised up everything from CW through to Starlink, so it was broader than that one. But yeah, we'll see now what Mike's got to tell us. Golf 8, Echo Echo, Yankee, G4NRC, over.
For NRC from G8EEY. Well, as John Cleese would say, I'm opening a boutique, which was his answer to difficult questions. Yeah, not too much digital. We use FM right the way through, certainly from 4 meters to 23 SEMS. We're using DMR. We've got a local repeater which carries DMR and will carry encryption, which is more than Brandmeister or hotspots will do, which is something we've discovered. We've been doing a lot of experimenting on that, but so far it's a shame that we can't do encrypted online. It has to be direct or through a suitable repeater. So we're looking at expanding that. I've been looking at FL Digi, but there's an awful lot of work to do on that, and it's fairly labour intensive to operate, I've found. The only information from any of the suppliers I've found are from Farnell, and they're looking at October 23 for any Pi stuff. Nobody else is actually even giving a date. And one thing I would say is we've been using Pi Zero hotspots with USB to Ethernet connectors, adapters, and going straight into the back of the router that way. And sometimes that is quite an easy way to access a Pi Zero when you haven't got a monitor on it. That's the situation at the moment. We haven't really found any great use for video on emergency as yet. We've been running with analog and digital TV in Norfolk for some time, but not actually finding a use for it in the emergency world. From G8EEY.
Echo Yankee G4NRC. Okay, all copied. So interesting, and I fear there might be some discussions with Guy later. I knew encryption was blocked by Brandmeister. That's just not on for them, because you could wind up putting your encryption out into countries where it is illegal. And of course, it does remain illegal under the radio regulations to pass your encrypted traffic outside the UK borders. That is prohibited by Article 25 of the radio regs. But interesting research blocked by hotspots, because I didn't think there was anything our system would do to block it. It should just pass the data. Comments about FLDigi remind me that I did have a video on setting FLDigi up, which was used for the HF team. I'm thinking I need to do it again to bring it up to date, but also maybe deal with that comment about labour intensive, because lots of us don't find that to be the case. So maybe something to go on the RAYNET YouTube channel. And video, we tried offering that to our local user services, feels like decades ago, because it probably was, and it got the same mixed response. Medical community were not interested in pictures of injuries as they arrived, but were more interested in having a wide shot of what the environment was that patients were coming in from, so that A&E could be more sympathetic to the ambulance crews when they arrived. So it is a solution still looking for a problem, I think. Okay, thanks, Mike. Take that as final, since I've closed the net on this one. Next to Graham, G7NEH, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G7NEH, returning. Yeah, okay, well, that's Greg. So to answer your initial question about what have I got in my emergency toolbox, apart from that, you know that anyway, but for the benefit of others, so DMR, and if it's local, we can make use of a GB7WX repeater, HF and VHF, and any digital modes that we need to use. So there we go. With that, not a lot else to add. G4NRC, G7NEH.
G7NEH, G4NRC. Yes, yeah, it's a bit of an unfair question for West Cheshire, since generally know what toys everybody's got. So yeah, I'll need to drop you and Phil G4HUF a message about Exercise Mighty Oak coming up. But I think I'm just going to guess what the answer is going to be. Right, thanks for that. Thanks for doing the stream today, Graham, and we'll have to find an alternative backup for Jitsi, I think, just to be sure we've got more reliable video for next week. Okay, next. Oh, and Graham chase the grey line D for DX over the next half hour or so while you're still on the high bands. Okay, next to Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Not a great deal to add this end, Greg. Yeah, stuff I've got available, equipment, as you'll know, DMR, FM, and mobile HF available as well. You know, if needed, if we're out on events. But back to you, and hopefully we'll catch up next week. Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar.
Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar G4 and LC. Yep, look forward to it, Dave. 7-3s. If you get any time in the evenings now, if you get back from work early enough, take advantage of HF while it's there. Next to Trevor, and thanks for the QO100 updates. G4KUJ, G4 and RC over.
G4 and RC in the group, G4KUJ. Yeah, okay, Greg and everyone else. Very interesting answers to the questions this afternoon, and a very good net. All being well, should be around next Sunday afternoon, so I look forward to joining everyone again. G4 and RC, G4KUJ.
G4KUJ, G4 and RC. Yeah, look forward to it. I think next week is a time-constrained net. The basketball calendar's a little messed up as various cup competitions come to conclusions. And somebody's decided to put a new competition in just for fun at the end of the season, so I need to sort the calendar out and figure out when I'm most available again. We'll catch up with you through the week, hopefully, Trevor. I'm off Thursday, Friday this week, so hopefully we'll have some spare time. Haha. Right, next for a final, it's Colin, 2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC over.
Yeah, from 2E0 CMS. Yeah, I just thought I'd say a little bit about video. We actually get asked quite a lot for video. We've done quite a few sort of rest center exercises and stuff like that where basically they've wanted more or less Zoom or Teams meetings and wanted live pictures from within the rest center itself, so they could get control to be able to see what sort of numbers of people are coming and going inside the rest centres. And also we've had requests for the live streaming from the drone as well, especially for the shoreline cleanup assessment techniques exercises, and we've actually been built into the local spillage plans for that reason as well. The other comment was going to be on Starlink pricing. You know, I'm aware in America, particularly at the moment, they are looking at putting the prices up for some people in April. I think it's for the really heavy users that use over a terabyte of data. Rather than throttling, they're just going to charge them extra, I think, or give them the option to pay extra. So I don't think that's going to be affecting us over in the UK anyway for a while. I think we've got less units over here, so it's not quite as busy. But we'll wait and see on that one. It's only one of the getting to be one of the most used things in our toolbox at the moment. G4 NRC 2E0 CMS.
Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC. So Alan JSA is realising just what the satellite delay is between me stopping typing in the log and then picking up the microphone to get back to you. Okay, I was going to look into it a little more because I'd also seen a video where somebody was trying to bond two different users together. Sorry, two different circuits together between landline and Starlink. So still got a little bit of research to do on that one. Okay, interesting video responses. It must very much depend on how forward-thinking your local emergency planners are then. But certainly around here hasn't got much by way of legs at all. So maybe you should start sharing some of that good practice between counties. Okay, next on the list is Alan, and he's not last. Mike 0, Juliet Sierra Alpha, G4 and RC over.
Yes, it makes a change not to be last. Those days. Okay, one back for we did earlier, so one thing back there. Ian said that FLDG does support the use of message forms. There's a mood in there somewhere I think it's based on the American version of the message form we use, where you can type into the message form and then FL Digi sends it. Well, I'm a bit vague on that. So we're waiting to see that done in practice, but that is what we're looking at, I believe. I'll give you a chance to catch up with that one. It's typing. It's good to watch what you're typing. The only other thing I've been playing with, I'm doing a hotspot for my local radio club to go in their shack, of which I'm chairman. And I was conscious that I had to take out the RAYNET-UK server settings out of the hotspot because it's not allocated to a RAYNET-UK account, which would effectively stop me using my radio in the shack to use for this calling, perhaps. And I wondered if there was any policy of having effectively third-party hotspots connected to the server, but still only able to carry registered DMR ID traffic. Just a thought. Thanks for all your hard work again this week, Greg, and hopefully you'll be fine for the rest of the week and you'll have a couple of days off. I bet you're looking forward to them. Best 73, M0 Jazz, hey, back to G4, NRC.
NRC to Echo 0 Tango Golf Echo. Good afternoon, chaps.
G4 NRC, would the brake station like to go again? G4 NRC, over.
NRC to Echo 0 Tango Golf Echo. Good afternoon, chaps. Hope everybody is well.
To Echo 0 Tango Golf Echo, that must be Toby, G4 NRC returning. Yeah, it's going to be last on the list, Toby. We're just bringing the net to a close in a couple of stations' time. So far, so good. So, Alan, what you're looking for is the subsidiary package called FL Message, Foxtrot Lima Mike Sierra Golf, and that's got a wide range of forms built into it, but you can indeed type stuff into the form, hit a couple of buttons so it fills in the word count and everything correctly, and then hit a different button and it will launch FL Digi and send the form for you, and it will also decode them on return. The forms aren't the American version. What you need to look for is the IARU form, India Alpha Romeo Uniform, because the RAYNET message format is the same as the International Amateur Radio Union format, so we can help everybody else out, because it's all good when we talk the same language. I do have some fun where on the HF network people say we'll use the IARU form, and it's like, well, it is the same as the RAYNET form, we just couldn't get the author to put every emergency group that uses its name into the title. So that's that. As far as server settings out of the hotspots, you must be running your hotspot in a kind of promiscuous mode to allow other people using it anyway, which is a different licensing issue. But third-party hotspots over the server sounds like a repeater to me, and we have 13 repeaters registered with the system. So we do have that kind of independence of accounts, but I suggest you talk to Guy directly for that one. Okay, thanks, Alan. Out to you. And next is Phil, Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4 NRC from G8 KLC. Oh, okay, I wasn't actually expecting to come back, but that's fine. Yes, FL message was exactly what I was going to say. But you define your own. Don't think I realised there was an IARU message. Had already done, but haven't spent too much time looking at it. The video was interesting. I haven't thought of that, I have to admit. Back in Hertfordshire, when we were doing the Olympic torch, they had we were actually looking at the video in the MCU. And it actually caused more confusion amongst the emergency planning team because they just could not understand, or they kept on forgetting that there was something like an 8-minute delay, or it might have been a 6-minute delay. They couldn't get their heads around it. It wasn't real time. Well, they can't be here yet because it's not on the screen just as they run by. And that was interesting. I remember using live video up at things like Mildenhall Airfair when that was running, but that was very much to get an idea of the crowd and what was going on. And yeah, certainly you talk to any first aider, and the first thing they'll do when they arrive on sign is, what is the history? What's been going on? Why is there an electric kettle sitting in this pool of water? Is that why this guy's laying there looking very blue and not very happy? So zooming out and seeing the scene makes an awful lot of sense. Yeah, that's probably my three penneth. G4 NRC, G8 KLC.
Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie, G4 NRC. Okay, I'm glad medical people concur at least. Okay, thanks, Phil. Yes, it goes back many years when we got message procedures put back into the RAYNET manual that IARU procedure was picked up to make it the same, and FLVG had it as a relatively quick addition because it's a mere matter of taking a couple of fields out of the American format to make it more international, because the American message format still includes things like being able to make reverse charge calls, which we couldn't do in this country without it being absolutely penal. Okay, thanks, Phil. That makes our last participant on the activity period today, Toby. 2 Echo 0, Tango Golf Echo, G4 and RC, over.
Hey, 2 Echo 0, Tango Golf Echo. Well, all very interesting stuff. Well, what have I been up to? I managed to get into the New York repeater on 10 a couple of days ago. That's from home. But otherwise than that, not too much happening on this end. Just getting to grips with my Anytow handhelds at last, and yeah, getting my head around the software as well. So not too bad. Hope everyone's well, keeping good. And we had our radio test yesterday. That was quite successful. So yeah, not too bad at all. G4 NLC 2 Echo 0 Tango Golf Echo.
Echo 0 Tango Golf Echo, G4 and RC. Yeah, it was a message from Graham G7NEH yesterday about what's this repeater on 2962. And I'd just seen a YouTube video where somebody had worked it 3 weeks ago. But while the New York repeater on 10 metres is a great propagation aid, I was just a little frustrated. There were lots of people calling and nobody actually working each other, which seemed a little odd and defeated the object. However, we are coming close to the end of the normal time for the net, so we've had 20 stations check in total, which is nicely over the 1% of RAYNET membership that normally takes part. So thanks everybody for taking time out of their busy schedules to participate this afternoon. I'm glad I wasn't time constrained, so we've had a good conversation. Please be careful, have a good week, and until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, I'll close the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net and return the talk groups to being open nets rather than a directed net. So 7-3's all, this is Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie now closing and reverting to my normal call sign of Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo. Bye-bye.